From the shadows of the National Palace
to the muddy trenches of politics. This is La Posilga, the pigsty of dirty politics. Greetings.
My dear piglets of this great national pigsty, welcome to another episode of La Posilga, the only place where we wallow in the mud of politics, because, let's face it, it's the only place where these characters feel at home. Today, the stench comes straight from Sinaloa, with a technical stop in Washington and a whiff of complicity coming from the National Palace. Greetings. We don't shower here because water is expensive, and frankly, we've gotten used to the smell of corruption. Today, we're going to talk about how the fourth transformation became the fourth simulation. Especially when Uncle Sam tightens the screws and our brand new president forgets the script. Get your rat repellent ready because this is about to get intense. The menu comes seasoned with nervous laughter and cardboard sovereignties. I'm your host, Luis Berman, the one who doesn't swallow the spin, not even through a stainless steel straw. And I'm going to break down the pathetic spectacle that the manager of the National Palace gave us. Let's begin. Those were the days when sovereignty was defended with guts and not with press releases written by interns who are afraid. It turns out that now, in the wonderful world of the fourth transformation, the word sovereignty has become the favorite deodorant to cover up the stench of corruption and criminal politicians that comes from certain government offices. Since last week, the United States Department of Justice, those gentlemen who don't understand sovereignty but do understand life sentences, dropped the bomb. They're after Ruben Rocha Moya, the governor who swears that the day he was supposed to meet with El Mayo Zambada and El Mayo was taken to the United States, he was actually in Los Angeles shopping. And what has been the response from our shiny Attorney General's office? From the Foreign Ministry and the top brass of the Fourth Transformation, just a nationalist tantrum. There is no evidence. They squeal like pigs on the way to the slaughterhouse. Let them send them to us and let them be irrefutable, please. Like the American prosecutors would present a PowerPoint at the morning press conference, requesting an extradition so that a grand jury in the U.S. gives the green light. They don't need suspicions. They need the receipts, the photos, and probably even Mayo's DNA. In the coffee at the governor's office. And what do you think? Of course they already have all that. That's why they want this little angel as soon as possible on Uncle Sam's turf. But look, my pigs, this is where things get tricky. They say in the FGR administration, now under the command of Mrs. Ernestina Godoy, that they are investigating. Such efficiency. They seem to ignore that since 2023, the very same Alejandro Gertz Manero, that man who seems to have been mummified to preserve justice and is now serving as ambassador in Britain, already had the files on his desk. Sources from this humble pigsty tell us that his subordinates, the ones who still had a bit of curiosity, asked him, "Hey, Don Alejandro, how true is it that Rocha Moya is the best friend of the Sinaloa cartel?" And Gertz, with that vitality that characterizes him, replied, "He's in it up to his neck." Pay attention, the answer here was affirmative. They already knew long before, since 2021. They were keeping an eye on him, but then there's politics. The decision not to proceed was not a legal one. It came from the top of that palace, where they decide who is a social activist and who is a criminal, depending on the color of the vest they wear. No one lifted a finger because the order was, "Don't touch this one, he's one of ours." It's fascinating to see how they wrap their criminals in the flag. They say that the United States violates our sovereignty. Don't make me laugh or I'll spray corn and snot everywhere. Sovereignty isn't lost when a New York prosecutor points out a corrupt person. Sovereignty is given away in small installments when you let the mafias appoint the Secretary of Security, the mayor, and even the person who sweeps the plaza. If a governor allows criminals to act freely in his territory, or worse, governs under the orders of a faction, the one who violated sovereignty, Sovereignty was him. The one who spat on the Constitution was him because he made a deal. But of course, it's easier to cry interventionism than to explain why Culiacan is a narco-state. It's all an open secret that no one in the federal government wants to hear about. Do you really think the military intelligence reports didn't say anything? Or were the generals too busy building trains and airports to notice that the state was slipping through their fingers? Now let me tell you something that is both pitiful and uncomfortable. There's comedy in La Mañanera, but not the good kind. Not the kind that makes you burst out laughing, but the kind that gives you a mix of secondhand embarrassment and national dread. Yesterday, May 4th, we saw Claudia Sheinbaum. If it weren't for the fact that she's at the podium in the National Palace, we'd swear she was auditioning for a third-rate stand-up act. In a seedy bar, or honestly, was she having some kind of unhinged fit of idiocy? What happened to the scientist? Where did that image of a sober and restrained woman they sold us during the campaign go? It vanished. In her place, an over-the-top caricature appeared. A woman who, between fake laughter and wide-open eyes, tried to hide the obvious. Or rather, she tried to cover up for Ruben Rocha Moya with a curtain of arrogance. Should we give the president some credit? Sheinbaum has an enviable lung capacity, but not for giving statesman-like speeches, but for letting out laughs that sound more like a short circuit in an abandoned amusement park than a genuine expression of joy. The crisis's size is clear from its incidence level. Despite the morning press conference's mystery, the lady just wanted to laugh. Did they ask her about Donald Trump's pressure? Ha 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 ha. Do they question her about why she went to take refuge in Palenque, right where the boss of the damn place has his spiritual retreat, while the country is falling apart? Ha ha ha. Claudia burst out laughing, mocked the urgency, parodied the journalists, did voices, yes, voices, as if she were gossiping while waiting in line for tortillas. "Oh, it's just an office in New York," she said in a condescending tone. What selective ignorance! That office in New York is the same one that sent El Chapo, Garcia Luna, and every big shot who crossed their path to jail. But for our presichachis, it's just a law firm, unimportant, of course, as if international justice were just routine paperwork at the welfare office. I'm not making this up. Here's a clip from yesterday's embarrassing moment at the morning press conference.
Can't you see it?
Why?
How?
It's just that conclave makes me laugh like that. Also a Morenista. No, well, it's just that it's funny, isn't it? The president already went to ask for marching orders. No, but also the president is in a terrible dilemma. Either she hands over Rocha or there will be an invasion. The president is in a terrible dilemma. Either she covers for the Morena governors or she hands over Rocha. Well, Carmen, calm down.
Por favor.
An office in New York.
They're requesting the arrest. Urgent, urgent.
Evidence in this case of why it's so urgent. Tell me.
Dear inhabitant of this pigsty, is this a joke or has fear already further crippled your intellectual capacity? Because while she's mocking, Trump put her in check with the drug trafficking accusation against the current governor with permission from those who have no opinion. Translator: if the United States urgently asks to arrest an alleged drug trafficker who's a governor, the best thing is to act funny and lend him a. And why such a hurry? Well, I don't know, Doña Claudia, maybe because the government is useless and only serves the cartels. I don't know, that's just what comes to mind right away. The welfare maid is in a dilemma that not even the most complex engineering algorithm could solve. Either she hands over Rocha Moya or she risks the relationship with the United States blowing up like a firecracker. She inherited the mess and now she has to sweep it up with a palm broom that doesn't have any bristles left. They protect Rocha Moya not out of sovereignty, but out of fear that he'll get to New York and start singing like a canary about who else received voluntary contributions for the 2024 campaigns. That's when the little lady furrows her brow and puckers her asshole. And while Rocha Moya runs away, requests a temporary leave, they leave us with Geraldine Bonilla as interim governor. And who is Geraldine? Well, none other than a former waitress at a sandwich shop who drew the winning ticket in Morena's raffle. Rocha himself, with that elephant in a china shop tact he's known for, used to refer to her as little waitress in a derogatory way in public. But now, magically, she's the key piece holding down the fort while the boss hides. How beautiful social mobility is in the fourth transformation. From serving sandwiches to serving the same criminals as always. As if the international embarrassment wasn't enough, they send Bruno Diaz from Pulcata, Omar Garcia Jarfuch to Sinaloa to tell us that Rocha Moya is around and has a protective detail. It's not a big operation, he says. There are just a few officers to protect an official in a state where there have been violent incidents. You don't say, Omar. How perceptive. While they're taking pictures, the shopkeepers in Culiacan are closing their stores because they can't stand 19 months of war between the Chapitos and the Mayos anymore. But of course, according to General Trevilla's official statistics, homicides are going down. Too bad reality shows different numbers, and since Rocha requested leave, there have already been 16 more violent executions. Now let's go to the conclave of the welfare narcos. To put the finishing touch on this tragic comedy, Morena held its Congress to anoint Ariadna Montiel as the new party leader. They were all there. Brother Lalo, stuffed pepper-nosed Andy Lopez Beltran, the icon of family virtue, Americo Villarreal, suspect number 2 on the DEA's list. The cop, Mario Delgado, who is already accusing his own allies from the Green Party of being involved in fuel theft. And in the middle of that parade of wanted posters, Ariadna Montiel has the nerve to say that there's no room for corruption in Morena. Give me a damn break. That's like saying there's no room for waste in a sewer. In conclusion, what we saw was a leader who doesn't know how to behave like one. A lady who is light years away from being a stateswoman. A lady who, when faced with the pressure of handing over an ally or facing the consequences with the United States, preferred to hide behind mockery, folkloric nationalism, and resort to cheap patriotic sentiment. For Claudia, sovereignty seems to be the right to protect her own, no matter how corrupt they are, no matter the cost. Yes, she did go to Palenque to receive instructions from her boss, the old man Patas Meadas, and even though she swears up and down that she didn't, that she went to check on the progress of the works and all that nonsense, her change in attitude gives her away. She went from a lukewarm defense last week to a radicalization worthy of a rally from the 70s. Rumor has it, and mine is worse, that the order from Palenque, out in the middle of nowhere, was clear. Stall for time, confront the blonde guy from Washington, and wrap yourself in the flag. And there you have her, shouting about sovereignty while the country falls apart in the hands of organized crime that she refuses to confront. Now Mrs. Sheinbaum has the biggest hot potato in history. The rules of the game with Washington are no longer, I protect you, you protect me. Why do they defend Rocha Moya as if he were one of the Niños Héroes? It's very simple. In Mexico, there is no political will to proceed against a narco governor who helped elevate a narco party from which everyone benefits. Mexico is facing a mirror and it doesn't like what it sees. Either they clean the house and stop sweeping the trash under the tricolor rug, or Washington will keep doing the cleaning work for us. And believe me, when the gringos clean, they don't use a broom, they use a flamethrower. If the Sinaloa case is the start of the cascade, get ready, because there will be more than one distinguished figure looking for political asylum somewhere in South America or hiding in the bathrooms of San Lazaro. Well, my pigs, that's all for today's report from this national pigsty. Keep enjoying your cheap sovereignty while American justice breathes down our necks. See you in the next episode of La Posilga. Keep squealing because the louder you scream, the more we know it hurts. I'm Luis Berman, and this was La Posilga, the pigsty of politics. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and share this crappy video. See you when the next governor takes a leave of absence or when Claudia runs out of impressions. Goodbye. This is La Posilga, the pigsty of politics with Luis Berman.